Sean Fain just telling the world and the big three, including media, obviously 38 locations, parts distribution facilities for specifically GM and Stellantis.
The United Auto Workers president just blew the lid off the whole situation with Stellantis. And let me tell you, it's a wild ride. In the heart of America's car country, a storm is brewing that could shake up the future of labor relations. Fain is wielding a powerful mystery that exposes the unsettling truths behind Stellantis, a company that was once hailed as a beacon of innovation. What did the United Auto Workers president expose about Stellantis? What does it mean for the thousands of workers stuck in the middle of all this? And how is it going to affect you? The clash of titans. The heart of the issue is a heated conflict between Stellantis' bold attempts to slash costs and the United Auto Workers' unwavering dedication to safeguarding job security, ensuring fair compensation, and championing the overall well-being of workers. This clash isn't just an ordinary disagreement, it's a pivotal moment setting the stage for a thorough critique of how corporations operate and how labor rights are upheld, or not, in today's world. It's the kind of drama that makes you stop and think about who really holds the power and what it takes to fight against giant corporations. President Sean Fain's harsh public critiques of Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares are more than just idle talk. They're a spotlight on shady corporate decisions that don't sit right. These bold declarations have sparked a movement for heightened accountability, not only in the automotive industry, but reaching far beyond into other sectors. But what's really happening behind the scenes that prompted Stellantis to embark on this cost-cutting crusade? And why now? Let's break it down. But before we dive into that, take a moment and subscribe to our channel for more updates. Survival of the fittest. Let me tell you about Carlos Tavares and his bold management approach that's all about squeezing out efficiency and pushing for profits, even when the cost might be the very people he employs. Picture this, a world where the relentless pursuit of business goals leaves little room for considering the impact on employee well-being. That's right, Tavares is the guy who sees himself navigating through what he calls a Darwinian period. It's a time where only the strongest survive, and in his mind, that calls for daring decisions, the kind that can shake up the entire workforce. You might be thinking, what's the big deal? But here's the catch. These bold moves aren't just empty gestures. They translate into real, palpable changes within the company, often leaving employees feeling like they're caught in a whirlwind of uncertainty. Imagine working in an environment where the ground keeps shifting beneath your feet, all in the name of staying competitive and ahead in the game. It's almost like a real-life game of survival where not everyone gets to stay on the island. Let's break down these strategies and their implications. Plant closure. The plant closure is a gut punch that hits not just the company, but entire communities. Stellantis' decision to close multiple plants as part of their cost-cutting toolkit is sending shockwaves through local economies. A once bustling plant shuts down, leaving a void that sucks away jobs and sends consequences rippling through towns like an unforeseen tsunami. These manufacturing job losses don't just vanish into thin air, they spread chaos, toppling local economies like a house of cards, slicing consumer spending, and ballooning unemployment rates to alarming heights. And the community response? Fiery and raw. Local governments, those bastions of civic power, alongside labor unions, are up in arms over these drastic decisions. Their outcry is more than just noise. It's a rallying cry against what they see as a direct assault on job security. Threats loom large, not only to the jobs themselves, but to the social fabric meticulously woven through decades of reliance on these industries. Imagine a tapestry snagged and unraveling. These plant shutdowns threaten to do just that, tugging at the very heartstrings of communities that have thrived around these mechanical giants for generations. Looking further down the line, questions arise about Stellantis' long-term intentions in the American manufacturing landscape. There's a shadow of doubt cast over the company's commitment to staying rooted in regions where the automotive industry has anchored economic stability for years. This uncertainty digs deep, raising serious questions and persistent whispers about what the future holds for areas dependent on automotive manufacturing like a lifeline. The story spins back to where we began, a deep dive into the controversial strategies of Stellantis under Carlos Tavares. Bold cost-cutting maneuvers designed to propel the company to peak financial performance are rocking the boat, with consequences that unfold in unexpected and some might say tumultuous ways. Each strategic decision spreads ripples far beyond Stellantis, bringing into question the delicate balance between corporate survival and community well-being. Operational streamlining. Let's jump into the the nitty-gritty of what Stellantis is doing under the banner of operational streamlining. On the surface, it seems all about hitting that sweet spot of efficiency in their manufacturing game, but dig a little deeper, and there's a catch, one that's beginning to ruffle more than a few feathers. This drive for efficiency is like walking a tightrope, often leaving the remaining employees feeling burdened with more than their fair share of responsibility. Now, let's talk about tech. Stellantis is reaching into the futuristic toolkit, pulling out AI-driven technologies and robotics to streamline their operations. Imagine a factory where autonomous mobile robots glide across production lines, transporting materials with an ease that seems almost magical. These robots are not just a flashy accessory, they actually crank up production efficiency by several notches, ensuring materials zip across the factory floor faster and safer than ever before. It's the kind of futuristic upgrade that would make even sci-fi fans nod in approval. But there's a flip side, a shadow lurking behind this shiny new technology. As Stellantis trims down its workforce, the workload on those who remain can skyrocket. Picture it, fewer colleagues, but the same or even more work. It's a recipe ripe for burnout. As employees buckle under the heightened pressure, job satisfaction takes a nosedive. The irony here? Any boost in productivity from these technological marvels might just get canceled out by a workforce that's too tired and frustrated to perform at its best. Operational streamlining at Stellantis tells a story of balancing acts and tough trade-offs. It's a high-wire act between squeezing more efficiency out of processes and risking the morale and health of a workforce trying to keep up. While technology pushes the boundaries of what's possible, the human element remains grounded. Brand divestitures. Let's unravel the tangled web of brand divestitures at Stellantis. In their quest for strategic realignment, the company has made some gutsy moves, shedding underperforming brands like a snake outgrowing its skin. At first glance, this might seem like a savvy strategy for quick financial relief. After all, who wouldn't want to slim down to focus more on the moneymakers? However, as with most bold choices, this one comes with its fair share of whispering doubts, casting shadows on Stellantis' long-term viability. Dive deeper into market positioning. The logic is straightforward. Pour the company's precious resources into brands that are shining like supernovas, leaving the dimmer stars behind. But here's where the plot thickens. Critics are sitting in the stands with raised eyebrows. They argue that slicing off these pieces might just nick Stellantis' overall market presence, leaving it a bit wobbly. If you're only playing to your immediate strength, are you perhaps shutting the door on future growth opportunities that could have one day turned the tide in your favor? Let's not overlook consumer trust, that fragile thread that holds the fabric of customer relationships together. Sudden and frequent changes in what brand Stellantis offers could start to fray that thread. Picture loyal customers spinning in confusion, uncertain about the stability or lifespan of their chosen brands. With each change in direction, a flicker of doubt takes root, making customers wary. They might start asking themselves, do I really want to invest in a brand that feels like a ship constantly veering off course? As Stellantis navigates these murky waters of brand divestitures, it's clear that the stakes are high. This story isn't just about making cuts or consolidating for financial gains. It's about the broader picture, how these decisions stitch together, affecting the company's grip on the market, its growth potential, and the trust it holds with its consumer base. The United Auto Workers isn't pulling any punches in addressing the whirlwind of the strategies that Stellantis whipped up under the helm of their CEO, Carlos Tavares. The stakes are high as the union goes to bat for the rights and well-being of its members. It's clear-cut. Job security, fair pay, and rampant worker dissatisfaction are bubbling to the surface, demanding attention. So, let's break down these pressing issues, scrutinizing the United Auto Workers' strategic moves to confront them head-on. The battle for Belvidere. The buzz of plant closures and workforce cuts under Stellantis' aggressive cost-cutting regime is causing serious concern for the United Auto Workers. It's like a tremor jolting through the backbone of job assurance. A glaring example of this tension is the delayed reopening of the Belvidere assembly plant. This isn't just about turning the lights back on. It's a flashpoint that casts a spotlight on potential breaches of contract and wreaks havoc on the sanctity of workers' rights. Let's talk about fine print. The United Auto Workers is really sounding the alarm bells about what they see as Stellantis' neglect in reopening the Belvidere plant on schedule. This isn't just about missed deadlines. It strikes at the core of contractual commitments, shaking the foundation built between employees employees and management. Trust? It's hanging in the balance. If Stellantis slips in its obligations, that bond phrase, leaving workers feeling cut adrift in a sea of corporate doublespeak. Then there's the ripple effect, the community fallout. When a plant shutters its doors, the echo resonates far beyond the factory gates. It's not only those with jobs on the line who are affected, local economies take a hit, stumbling into instability. The lifeline of manufacturing jobs, once dependable, is severed, plunging areas into a crisis mode marked by spiking unemployment and shriveled consumer spending. The stakes are dizzyingly high. As the drama unfolds, the United Auto Workers is standing tall, pushing back against Stellantis' cost-cutting gusts, laser-focused on advocating for stability in uncertain times. They're not just fighting for jobs, they're battling for the very fabric of the communities interwoven with the fate of these plants. The story of United Auto Workers versus Stellantis is just heating up, with both sides girding for a showdown that could define the landscape of auto manufacturing for years to come. Fair wages. The rally for fair compensation is heating up, and the United Auto Workers is at the forefront, spearheading this vital cause. The backdrop, Stellantis' relentless cost-cutting strategies that have been slicing through the workforce like a hot knife through butter. This isn't just a wish, it's an urgent demand for justice, especially stirring around reports that CEO Carlos Tavares' pay hikes have astonishingly paralleled the company's own avalanche of layoffs. Let's dig deeper into the wage storm brewing. The United Auto Workers is waving the flag on wage inequities, calling out how workers seem to be tossed aside like yesterday's news, fighting rising inflation with wages that seem frozen in time. They aren't just pushing for pay hikes, they're demanding cost of living adjustments too. It's a powerful wave, a larger outcry echoing a collective feeling among workers that their relentless grind is simply not being respected or rewarded enough. And here's the kicker, the symbolic actions have been as sharp as a tack. The United Auto Workers has put the glaring disparity between executive paychecks and worker wages under the microscope. This isn't just for shock value, it's a strategic tool to stoke the fire of support among members who are seething over the stark contrasts in compensation structures. More and more, the workforce is rallying around this call to action, galvanized by the frustration that comes with feeling as though they're being shortchanged while the top brass reaps the rewards. In demanding fair compensation, the United Auto Workers isn't just making noise. They're throwing down the gauntlet for serious change. As they spotlight the pay gaps and push for rightful adjustments, they're not just seeking financial balance. They're fighting for acknowledgement and respect for every single contributor to Stellantis' success story. The tipping point. Worker dissatisfaction is bubbling up like a volcano ready to erupt, and the United Auto Workers is right in the thick of it, taking on the discontent head on. Imagine the frustration that comes from paychecks stuck in neutral with no hope of a raise in sight. That's the reality many workers are facing, exacerbated by a tiered wage system that leaves new hires staring enviously at their senior colleagues' paychecks. It's like running the same race, but discovering your starting line is way behind. This two-tier system, hammered out in previous labor negotiations, is a thorn in the side for many employees. Picture this: fresh faces at Stellantis, full of potential, slogging through their workdays only to be rewarded with a fraction of what their veteran co-workers earn for essentially the same grind. It doesn't just cause grumbling, it creates fissures in the workforce, splitting it into the haves and have-nots. The unity that once held the workforce together begins to fray, and divisions deepen with every disparity-filled payday. Enter United Auto Workers President Fain, a man on a mission. He's become the voice of those weary and worn down by wage stagnation and inequitable systems. He's not just whispering plans for change in back rooms, he's shouting them from the rooftops. Fain underscores the pressing need for systemic rejuvenation to secure fair pay for everyone, from rookies to seasoned hands. His leadership, let's just say it's been game-changing, rallying the troops and gathering momentum like a snowball rolling downhill. Members clamor for change, galvanized by his passionate advocacy to crush wage disparities once and for all. The United Auto Workers, with Fain at the helm, is steering towards a future at Stellantis where every worker stands on equal financial footing. This isn't just about balancing checkbooks, it's about restoring fairness, dignity, and cohesion to a workforce that deserves nothing less. The stakes are hefty, the path challenging, but the possibility of hard-earned change keeps hope alive, serving as a beacon for what's truly possible when voices rise and stand united. Breaking the silence. United Auto Workers President Fain isn't mincing words. He's taking the fight straight to Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares, firing off sharp public criticisms that target the automaker's controversial tactics. The showdown is fierce, with Fain zeroing in on 3 explosive themes: demanding justice for alleged price gouging and unmet promises, exposing the yawning gap between executive and worker pay, and steering through the tricky terrain of transitioning to electric vehicle production. Let's dive deep into each of these flashpoints, which could send ripples across the workforce and send shockwaves through the auto industry at large. First off, let's talk accountability, or the lack thereof. Fain's public knockdown is a loud echo in the corridors of Stellantis, calling out Tavares for what he describes as blatant price gouging. His voice is steady and unyielding, suggesting the automaker isn't just raking in profits by accident, but systematically exploiting consumers while sidelining their pledges to the workforce. Fain paints a picture of Stellantis quietly hiking prices even as their sales numbers take a hit, suggesting a troubling climb toward prioritizing profit margins over the welfare of regular folks buying their cars. Fain makes it clear with bold statements like, fact, for years, Stellantis has sold fewer vehicles but has increased its profits. What does that indicate? They are engaging in price gouging. This isn't just an ethical red flag, it could seriously backfire, alienating customers feeling the sting of inflated costs. Then there's the saga of unfulfilled promises, which takes center stage in Fain's critiques. The ongoing saga surrounding the delayed reopening of the Belvidere assembly plant stands out like a glaring beacon of broken vows. From Fain's viewpoint, Stellantis is guilty of turning its back on an agreement, violating the labor contract dedicated to protecting worker rights and security. This kind of breach, Fain warns, doesn't just erode trust, it threatens the very job security of thousands who rely on these commitments. He doesn't hold back in his assertion that Tavares is attempting to renege on commitments made in our previous contract. The fallout? A potential tremor of unrest is brewing within union ranks, poised to spill into broader upheaval. As Fain's stance amplifies, it's not just a simple critique, it's a megaphone for change, underscoring the need for accountability, justice, and a fair shake for the workers fueling Stellantis' engine. By shedding light on these critical issues, Fain carves a path where the automaker can no longer dodge responsibility, instead paving the way for an industry shaken by new realities and the relentless clamor of voices demanding to be heard. The Great Divide. Fain isn't hesitating to throw the spotlight on a glaring issue that's rubbing many the wrong way: the deep chasm between what Stellantis workers earn and the hefty sums piling up in CEO Carlos Tavares' bank account. This isn't just about numbers on a paycheck, it's about fundamental ethics and how they seep into the everyday morale of everyone clocking in at Stellantis. When leaders like Fain shine a light on such disparities, they're not just talking about money, they're stirring the pot on fairness and appreciation in the workplace. The rising tide of CEO pay is truly something to gawk at. Fain is pulling no punches here, pointing out the irony that while Stellantis battles slumping sales and waves goodbye to countless employees, Tavares' salary just keeps climbing. His critiques sting. Sales are declining, profits are dwindling, while CEO compensation is skyrocketing. For the workers, these words don't just reflect a reality, they echo their everyday struggles. Amid mortgage worries and grocery bill hikes, hearing that the boss's bank account is flourishing is like rubbing salt in a wound, creating a chasm of inequity that's hard to ignore. And this isn't just about money, it's about what happens next. Morale takes a hit. That lingering frustration, it's a morale killer among the ranks. When hardworking employees see their efforts going unnoticed, especially against the backdrop of generous executive pay, it breeds resentment. Feeling undervalued doesn't just put a damper on their day, it chips away at enthusiasm and drive. This poisonous dynamic is something Stellantis has to reckon with, particularly when trying to juggle productivity and keep spirits up in turbulent times. In highlighting the contrast between executive pay and worker wages, Fain isn't just making noise, he's asking profound questions about fairness and recognition. How does a company keep its gears turning and its workforce engaged when it feels like the scales are tipped in the wrong direction? Fain's narrative is a powerful call to action, spotlighting the need for balance and acknowledgement in a corporate world increasingly divided by the have-all and the have-nots. As these conversations gain traction, they're reshaping the dialogue not just within Stellantis, but across industries facing similar divides. The electric revolution. As Stellantis revs up for its big leap into the electric vehicle era, there's a storm brewing beneath the surface, one that centers around a crucial concern: job displacement. This time of transition, while pregnant with possibilities for innovation and growth, is also a maze of anxiety for those anchored in the traditional realms of combustion vehicle manufacturing. Enter Fain, who's waving a flag of caution, urging everyone to hit the brakes and consider the potholes ahead, especially the ones threatening worker stability. Fain's apprehension is palpable, hinting at the demand for a just transition, one that promises to hold employees' hands and guide them safely into this brave new world of electric vehicles. The specter of job insecurity looms large as Stellantis steps further into the electric vehicle ambit. The very fabric of the automotive industry is undergoing technological shifts, opening doors for cutting-edge technologies and market expansions. Yet within this transformation lies the risk of overshadowing those in more conventional manufacturing roles, leaving them high and dry in a landscape that no longer values their skills. Fain's voice rings clear as he calls for an arsenal of protective measures, a safety net if you will, to catch those who might otherwise be left dangling as this industrial metamorphosis unfolds. His mantra: we must ensure a just transition benefiting both employees and the company. This isn't merely about the evolution of a product, it's about nurturing an entire workforce's capacity to adapt and evolve without falling by the wayside. But how does one navigate such turbulent waters? Fain is adamant that the answer lies in unity and collaboration. In his view, management and labor must function as allies rather than adversaries in this shared quest. It's about crafting a robust roadmap that both preempts potential employment shakeups and doubles down on training initiatives. These programs aimed at equipping the workforce with the latest skills will be indispensable for those sidelined by the rapid pace of technological advancements. It's akin to building a new bridge while ensuring that none are cut adrift. Each person is valued and each role is given the space to transform. The broader implication: Fain's presidency at the helm of the United Auto Workers is nothing short of revolutionary, a powerful pivot in the world of labor relations, marked by a robust dedication to reinforcing worker rights coupled with a fiercer stance against unwelcome corporate antics. Under his leadership, there's been a seismic shift not just within the United Auto Workers but across the corporate landscape, prompting giants like Stellantis to run a critical eye over their strategies. Yet Fain's influence could ripple beyond immediate borders, potentially igniting a larger wave of activism and legislative overhaul around corporate duty and worker welfare. Fain's appointment as United Auto Workers president in March 2023 isn't just a line item on a resume, it's symbolic of deeper transformations. For the first time, the union welcomes a democratically elected leader, a beacon of transparency and accountability. Fain has harnessed this momentum to drive participation sky high among union members, hammering home the message that their voices are not just background noise, but the pulse of negotiations and policy making. Through clever use of social media, he's transformed communication channels, fostering a sense of shared purpose and unity within the membership. This open line of dialogue isn't just a novel concept, it's a catalyst for action, urging members to step up when needed. The ripple effects of Fain's leadership touch contract negotiations too. Under his umbrella, solidarity isn't just a buzzword, it's the bedrock of strategic collaboration. This newfound unity was a game changer during the historic United Auto Workers strike of 2023. As history would have it, strikes simultaneously rattled the bastions of Stellantis, General Motors, and Ford. A first for the United Auto Workers and a loud testament to the might of a cohesive front. Through this collective action, workers secured hefty wage hikes and better benefits, proving that together they wield unparalleled power to reshape their futures. Fain's influence doesn't stop at empowerment, it's a force pressuring corporations to re-examine their playbooks. His unwavering stance has nudged companies like Stellantis to rethink profitability models that previously put quick dollars over enduring sustainability and worker well-being. As Fain poignantly argued, record-breaking profits should naturally lead to record-setting contracts for the workforce, presenting a radical challenge to the entrenched corporate doctrine that favors maximizing shareholder returns. But what do you think? Are Fain's criticisms justified, or is Stellantis simply adapting to a changing market? Let us know in the comment below.